Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
As we deepen into our service, let us set the tone for this service with the reading, "It is Good to Be Together" by Allison Wooler. With thankful hearts, we have come together this morning to celebrate the bounty of the day, to bask in the warmth of this community, to share with friends the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hope for a better future. We join together this morning, as always, to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived, in questioning and in conversation, in compassion and service, in gratitude and joy, in companionship and in love. It is good to be together with you this morning. Our chalice lighting words this morning are entitled "To Speak When Silence Feels Safer," from the Reverend Michelle Collins. This flame This flame burns for the courage we find when fear makes sense, not the absence of doubt, but the choice to act anyway. We light it for those who speak when silence feels safer, and for those who act when invisibility beckons. All right, now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Ross Keyes as our speaker this morning. Ross has worked in the federal government for nearly 30 years, holding a number of positions for Congressman Pomeroy and Senators Heidi Heitkamp and Kent Conrad. His positions included State Director, Deputy State Director, Outreach Director, and Mobile Office Coordinator. He crisscrossed the state with each of these elected officials and had the opportunity to help North Dakotans on a wide variety of a range of issues. And more recently, Ross helped develop and was the executive director of the North Dakota Voices Network. He is now the executive director and founder of the Interfaith Alliance of North Dakota. He serves as board chair for the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition and the vice chair of the North Dakota Kennedy Center. He joins us today to talk about the formation of the North Dakota Interfaith Alliance and the work they do to foster social, economic, and environmental justice. And I know many of us have worked with Ross. He's a good friend, and help me welcome Ross to the podium.
As Don mentioned, my background is in politics and policy. I was actually raised Catholic in Valley City. If you know Larry Robinson, state legislator, or Lynn Clancy. Yes. Lynn was with Kent's office when I was there. So they were back in at that Catholic church. But when I always had issues with beliefs and their policies and things. So I was always just kind of, this isn't where I should be. When they came out against the ACA in 2010, the bishops did. The sisters actually supported it. They said, this is the real pro-life bill. But the bishops came out and I said, okay, to my family, I'm out of here. So the best thing I can describe myself now is a hopeful agnostic, which frankly has kind of paid off in this work because I don't have a dog in the fight, kind of. You know, when I go around and visit with ELCA or Presbyterians or Episcopalians or whatever, I don't belong to any church. We're not going to have meetings at my church. So it's been interesting. So anyway, 2010, that was me on kind of a start of a little journey on trying to figure out who I am. 2018, Heidi loses. And you remember that. It sucked. She had some funds left over from Kavanaugh Stops Kavanaugh. It's his latest nickname, Kavanaugh Stops. If you've read that, if you haven't, check it out. Kavanaugh Stops. It's going to stay with him till he dies. And he can't stand it. But she had some funds left over, and we decided to create something with some labor leaders to create the North Dakota Voices Network. And I'm giving you some background, by the way, so that you can understand why Interfaith Alliance of North Dakota was created, why we're here, how we got to this place, and it maybe gives you some understanding of where it'll be going in the future. But we pulled together the North Dakota Voices Network, and that the job I was given was to pull as many progressive organizations together as I could in North Dakota, get them to work together, talk together, share ideas and best practices, amplify each other's messages, get stronger together. And it's been working. In fact, there was one session where one of the leaders called Nick Archuleta, and Nick said to us, the leader said, "Can you get them to quit calling us?" Because we were overloading the lines at the state legislature. And that's all these progressive organizations that had been starting to work together more and more frequently, especially during the session. That continues under the umbrella of Prairie Action North Dakota today. So I assume a lot of you are probably getting their daily emails, Prairie Action North Dakota. If you don't, easy to Google Prairie Action North Dakota or check in with me. But so I'd done the political side for 30 years. I'd been doing this. Heidi's funds ran out. Prairie Action got a grant, and there was something on the side that I wanted to do anyway that I'd been working on for a couple of years while I was doing voices, and I thought there's something missing. Okay, so we talked about politics, and okay, so the party is a little weak in red states like this. Okay? Progressive organizations, I felt with this effort through North Dakota Voices Network and Prairie Action, had been getting stronger and stronger. So these are like two legs of a stool so far. I thought that the stool needed a third leg. You can't just stand on two. So I pulled Heidi aside and I said, something I'd like to do is try and pull together progressive faith leaders across the state of North Dakota and see if we can't kind of do a mirror image of what we did with the Voices Network. Stronger together, share ideas, best practices, provide trainings, amplify each other's messages, get them to know each other too. The pastors in Rugby didn't know that there was a pastor who thought just like them down in Wahpeton. Pastors in Fargo had no idea what Ministry on the Margins is. So faith leaders was going to be the next effort. So I talked to a bunch of people like Barry Nelson. You guys know Barry, really well connected in the Fargo area. Kathy Hogan with Presentation Sisters. Carla Rose Hansen, who had done an effort like this on a local issue in Fargo, so she had some good connections. Murray Sagsveen from here. You've seen him in the news all the time lately on ethics, and many others. And so I'd travel around the state meeting face to face because with 30 years in politics, I didn't expect folks to believe me. Face to face explaining that what I was hoping to do was, we've been watching for decades now as what I would term good people going to an election booth and voting against their own interests because they had been persuaded. They were susceptible to voices of hate, fear, bigotry by people who didn't have their best interests at heart. And so I'm thinking, here's who we need to reach out to and pull back in and help them be the people they are. So, pastor by pastor, Fargo, Grand Forks, Valley City, Jamestown, Minot, Rugby, I've been traveling the state, pulling people in. And it wasn't long after this that I started monthly Zoom calls to provide updates on current issues to help them, and we'll get into some slides on this, to provide them with some background on current issues. But it was in the 2023 session, and I might have even handed out a letter to the editor last time I was here on that session, when we had 20 plus anti-LGBTQ bills. It's like, damn it, something has to be done about this, and it'd be great if faith leaders could weigh in so the people who pay attention to what faith leaders say can go, oh, you know what? They've got a really good point there. So at that point in 2023, I had about 30 to 35 pastors as a part of my group. I sent it out to those pastors, they sent it out to those pastors, and within 36 hours, we had 80 plus as a part of my group. And we've continued to grow ever since. Why would North Dakotans listen to their faith leaders? What do folks like you bring to the table? Well, faith leaders carry the respect of those who attend their churches and, in most cases, the general public. Faith leaders have a broad reach across the communities of North Dakota. Some areas of North Dakota are a little tougher. It's hard to get faith leaders on board in some areas. And faith leaders, for the most part, have the respect of the media. So when we send around a letter to the editor and we don't have a faith leader on the board from that town, they'll still play our letter to the editor, which is, might not have gotten a lot tougher. Williston played it, this recent one. What's up next? Okay, so here's a general mission statement. Then we'll get into why faith leaders and what can they accomplish? What can you all accomplish? Interfaith Alliance is our mission statement. The Interfaith Alliance of North Dakota is a community of lay and ordained faith leaders, and we're going to probably change that around. I'm getting more and more people who are just kind of activists and interested, who say they want to be a part of this and be in on these calls, and it's like, come on in. They work together to challenge intolerance and extremism through education and advocacy in order to bring about greater social, economic, and environmental theme of today, justice. Justice. Thank you very much. In North Dakota. Next slide. Let's see where this goes. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, but it's kind of a weird approach, I thought, but maybe not so weird. Instead of going in and just talking to the folks who come to a church service, I thought, okay, that's not going to get me very far. Half of them are probably going to be really ticked at what I say. Zoom. Doesn't cost them anything. Monthly briefings. Last Thursday of the month, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Some of these briefings have been, the very first one, the faith leaders on our initial Zoom, the very first one, they asked me, hey, can we do the next one on abortion? Serious. That's what they wanted to be prepared to talk about in their faith communities, was abortion. So we've had Scott Skokos from DRC down the road here. We've had International Center for Religion and Diplomacy out of DC, who loves what we're doing here. Americans United for Separation of Church and State. We just had Sister Kathleen Hogan talk about ministry on the margins. She's a big supporter, by the way. And the Episcopalian father who's following her as the ED there. One of them, we had, I swear to God, MSNBC would have paid me 15 grand if they could have gotten in on this one. We had a conversation on the big, beautiful bill with Senator Heidi Heitkamp, and she was the low one on the totem pole. We had Senator Heidi Heitkamp, the CEO, president of our national organization, Reverend Paul Brandis Rauschenbusch, and for the keynoter, how many of you have heard of Sister Simone Campbell? Sister Simone. Nuns on the Bus. She is a rock star. When she talks, people listen. She's written books. She traveled the country. She got a bus. I think it was an old school bus, right? An old school bus. And a bunch of sisters traveled the country to argue about why the ACA is such a good bill. So her and Heidi became besties. And I met her in Fargo and we had a really long conversation. She said, hey, anytime you need me on a call, just give me a buzz and I'm there. So we had Heidi, Paul, Sister Simone talking for over an hour on the Big Beautiful Bill Act. Seriously, MSNBC, They would have loved that one. Crossed my mind. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we give them these briefings. We provide toolkits like how to talk about Christian nationalism, how to talk about immigration. We give them language and talking points on these same things. We've got people who have worked on this a lot, use it in sermons in other places in the country, and they go to the National Interfaith Alliance. They go, hey, here's some language that might work. We also provide them opportunities to engage. There are a lot of pastors in North Dakota who've never thought it was their place to contact a legislator. Never. Now they can't represent their church as a 501c3 and get involved in saying, vote for so-and-so. Although the current IRS says, yeah, you can, that'll go to court. That's the Johnson Amendment issue. It'll come up here in a sec. So we would provide real clear directions on, you want to talk about chaplains in schools? Here's the bill, here's the link, here's how you submit testimony, and I'd give them an example of testimony. And we've got pastors from around the state who are now regulars who had never done this before in their lives. Oh, we can pop that back up. National efforts, letters. Hang on. Some recent national letters that Interfaith Alliance has signed in, and pastors around the state have signed on to an Interfaith Alliance from DC on the Johnson Amendment, saying it's dangerous to turn churches into campaign centers. The Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice on extending the ACA subsidies, we signed on. Network, again, Interfaith to end the shutdown. Letter in support of the Rhode Island State Council of Churches lawsuit against the Trump administration over attempt to halt supplemental nutrition assistance program. And another one with the CBPP, Center on Budget and Policy Priorities on Restoring SNAP So we give all sorts of opportunities to these faith leaders to join into national efforts like that, where they might not have before. Letters to the editor. I have some samples for you. Here's our most recent one. Don, if you want to help get these out. Here's our most recent one, standing with our Somali neighbors. You can't call people garbage, and you just can't call an entire people garbage. That's just among all sorts of other things that have been said. The headline I really, really love though, is this one. We wrote it and sent it out during the Big Beautiful Bill. You always want to get the right headline. I remember years ago when I was working with Earl Pomeroy, and I helped write a release on our work with an organization to bring internet safety to schools for kids, how to keep them safe online. And so I wrote the headline for our press secretary, and it Valley City Times Record played it word for word, and just like made my week. It was like Pomeroy goes to work to keep kids safe online, which we saw in the next commercials in the next campaign. So anyway, the headline on this one is Big Beautiful Bill is Cruel and Immoral. Can't buy. So that played in across the state. So that's our board signing those ones. And then if you want to go to the next slide. So with this approach, we're giving these faith leaders briefings. We're getting them to sign on to letters. And you're going, yeah, well, what the heck's that going to accomplish? It's just the faith leaders. It's just Pastor Sylvia, or it's Pastor Gretchen. What does that do? Well, so it's a top-down approach. One thing is it allows faith leaders to become more comfortable in talking to their boards first, to their boards about these issues. Also to their close allies in their churches. You've got them here. To their full faith community, like Faith Lutheran, or to the full community when they sign these letters to the editor. So now they're comfortable in bringing these issues out in a state where that's not often accomplished. That's not often a comfortable thing to do. And then their faith communities and general public see them taking stands on these current issues. So that's how it's growing this. It's top down and dropping a pebble, and then that wave reaches the board, reaches the advisors, reaches the faith community, and then beyond. So that's the thought I had behind doing this. And now we've got pastors showing up at protests down here and over in Fargo. And so it's been working really well. Is we provide opportunities for faith leaders to attend national events. Our Interfaith Alliance just provided some funds where I was able to send Pastor Gretchen Deeg with UCC, Pastor Sylvia Bull with Faith, and Beth Welch with Lord of Life. Beth Welch and John Stratius. Yeah. Lord of Life? Okay, thanks. And they picked up a majority of that cost. Then here's some of the weird things that can happen. So those three go there. They come back and they tell their experiences to you were there, and you were there, to this little group at the Gifted Being, and they go, hey, we heard this fantastic gentleman. He's an imam. His name is Ayman Solomon. Talk about his 73 days in captivity thanks to an ice raid and the horrible conditions. And we're trying to figure out, Interfaith Alliance, well, what do you do next after you hold this faithful resistance? That turned out perfect. We had a faithful resistance training up at the Kennedy Center here in Bismarck that Adam Friedman flew from DC to give. We had one in Fargo, standing room only, both places. How do you follow that? Well, geez, why don't you follow it with this? So I've talked to Imam Solomon, and we are looking to put together a Zoom with him and several sites in North Dakota. I'm trying to get the public library here. We'll see if we can get the library in Fargo. We'll figure out Grand Forks and Minot. Jamestown might want to do something. But we'll have him talk about his experiences so that North Dakotans can get a better sense of what's going on out there, because we're a little bit isolated and insulated here. This will break through that. Pastor Gretchen says, yeah, but Ross, you don't just do that and then send people out the door. So the plan is to have some guided discussion afterwards, because they said when they saw it first, they were really shaken. And I believe that. They were really shaken. So we will have at these locations probably some breakout groups with guided discussions by faith leaders to help people understand and deal with what they just heard. So another little benefit of this connection, by the way, we're a full affiliate with Interfaith Alliance out in DC. There are about 23, 25 affiliates. I was like number 12. And since then, it's just kind of, and they use North Dakota as an example when they're trying to bring people on board of the things that they can do. So it's been pretty cool. Other opportunities we have are like the monthly Zoom platforms for other organizations to get their message out, like Shine Bright and Live. Jason Grunek, we had him on. I've been speaking around the state and in Minnesota on Christian nationalism. That is so weird for me. We had a packed house up in Bottineau, though. Bottineau, 47 people showed up, and it was supposed to be a 1-hour visit. I was there for well over 2 hours with the Q&A. They did not want to leave. They are thirsty for this information around North Dakota. And then now and then national panels ask me to speak in terms of how do you organize in a rural state. And they like to talk, well, how do you mix that with voter registration? And I go, that's why we've got to organize, is because we don't have voter registration. And one guy's head I thought was going to explode from New York. There's a bunch of think tanks and major donors, and they just can't believe how can you be successful. Well, it's hard. So you've got to do person to person around the state and build these alliances. What's next? What do we have here? So, Interfaith Alliance, I love it. When I first started this, I had 30 people, and Tasha Carvel. She was with the Alliance for a Better North Dakota. It was like a partner organization for North Dakota Voices Network that I was running to pull the organizations in. She and I are on a call, and she's going, Ross, what are you going to call this thing? I go, I don't know, my forward-thinking faith leaders group? She rolls her eyes and she goes, oh God, can you just call it maybe something like an Interfaith Alliance, and then light bulbs? And I go, I had used Interfaith Alliance language in the past when I would write letters to the editor trashing budgets that were focused on tax cuts to the rich. So I called them. I said, hey, you don't know me, I'm Ross Keyes, but I want to create an Interfaith Alliance in North Dakota. And they said, what do you need? And boom, they're a fantastic organization to work with. And we've been partners ever since. We have about 175 partners across North Dakota, ELCA, some individual Catholics, Jewish leaders, some individual Muslims. With some churches, they don't want to have their churches affiliated with us because of particular positions that we may take on whether it's LGBTQ or women's health. But there are a lot of individuals, though, that want to work with us. Presbyterian, I sure hope she's doing health-wise. Leanne Simmons, she was fantastic when she prayed at the legislature, by the way, but she's got some health issues. You folks, UCC, Atheist, Episcopalian. I think we still have a couple of Buddhist and Hindu members on, and some of this is through David Myers. He leads the FM Interfaith Center. He's a Jewish leader over there, and he's been absolutely fantastic to work with. Agnostic, Methodist, and I'm sure I'm missing a variety of them. So we've got a very broad range of support, and we're always looking for more. So we have sign up. If you're interested in becoming a part of my emails, I try not to drown folks with emails. They get a little bit more busy during the session because I'll send out opportunities to get involved, but there are sign-up sheets in the back, and we'd love to add you to our effort. That's what we do.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. You want the world to know. You won't let hatred grow. Put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide this will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. And the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait.